Welcome back, everybody, to Gringos Liberados. My name is Trajan. I am now joined by Sofchan, 404 and RMC, and everything is on fire. Welcome, everybody. Everything is changed. Up is down. Left is right. North is south.
We are the four horsemen of the apocalypse.
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Yes.
Indeed.
And we have some pretty big news to talk about. The thing that everyone is talking about, to be fair, which is the announcement of the Americas region for League of Legends, mirroring, at least in sense of the regions involved, to VCT, with the North Conference, aka LCS, the South Conference, aka Brazil, CBLOL, and one LLA team split between each. The LLA as a region has gone poof and is now split representative across the top two. So, the general vibe has been CBLOL mad. LCS, not sure if they're mad or not, honestly. I can't really tell if they know to be mad. So I think, I guess the first thing is, how mad are we? Is anyone mad? Anyone mad? Who's mad?
Let's do this on a scale of 1 to 10. Like 5 is like neutral, 0 is like you're happy for it, 10 is like you're furious.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I'm at. I don't know. My prevailing emotion wasn't mad; it was sad.
Yeah.
Because after I've kind of distilled everything, is like, that a lot of this was just a really harsh financial reality crunching in on things. And but you can give all the, and I was mad online about this over the last 2 days, but
the best way to be mad.
No matter what, really good reasons or bad reasons there are and aren't, you can't, the most frustrating thing was having people tell CBLOL fans how to feel when it felt like their region was really hitting a really high crest of a wave, right?
Yeah.
Despite all whatever financials were or weren't the case and were or weren't known, right? Like, I mean, I heard one person say very, very well, the soccer team that I root for in Brazil, Corinthians, they are 1 billion with a B, KIs in debt, $200 million in debt. I don't care.
Real sports.
I love that team.
Woo!
I want to see them go out and sign more players and be a better team and win more soccer games, right? You don't care that the financial situation is shit, right? You're a fan. Yeah. And that's what I think a big difference is, right? And like about like, and there was the whole difference made about like, oh, CBLOL, right? CBLOL cares about the domestic trophy. LCS doesn't give a shit. American fans, we've been double lift pilled into thinking, domestic play isn't important and all that matters is international results, right? And like, to a certain extent, I get that because we're the most financially resourced region. So like, if you want to equate money to success, I understand that frustration because we have the most money, but we have dog shit for success. So I get that. But like, again, the American and the CBLOL mindset are so different, right? Yeah. And watching people try to equate those was really, really frustrating, right? And, even though you can say, and it might be true, that no, this didn't happen one at the expense of the other. It's not that simple, right? I think the first thing we need to do before we talk about this is sit here and mourn. Because the fact of the matter is, four sets of teams are going to have their livelihoods taken away, right? And even if Tier 2 does become self-sufficient, even if we do have a brighter future tomorrow, that doesn't take away the fact that this blows. This blows big, weenie and bald. This sucks. Really, really bad. Right? Historic teams. Like, like we were talking about, okay, well, what 6 teams are going to stay? And the consensus seems to be that the 4 that are...
Yeah, I mean, I think there's 5 that are 100% going to stay, and there's maybe some decision about the last one, and I think Liberty's not going to be any of them. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I
exactly.
think...
Right. But it's like, fans, Brazilian fans, they will latch onto a thing and they will die for it. That's just how they are. And so, like, and they're just proud to have their own thing and to have that taken aww from them, whether it's for a good reason, whether it's for a bad reason, whether it's taken away by Riot Brazil or by the Americans as it's perceived, right? Even though it's Riot Global. And obviously there are these whole things to, take, to dissect. Like,
I mean, even teams, even when it's just financial realities, like when Cruzeiro left the league, when Flamengo left the league, right? Like people were really, really upset. And it wasn't even anybody taking them away. They just died because they couldn't financially handle the reality.
They walked out the door,
and people still mourned over them, right? So I fully agree. I think one of the biggest problems too with CBLOL compared to the rest of the world is that this was a league where people were pushing and wanting even more orgs to come in. Like they wanted 12 orgs in, right? We saw Academy expand from 10 to 12 to 14 over the span of a year. And I think a lot of people don't understand that, because in most regions there'll be like one or two teams where people are saying, oh, they're just riding free right now, like they're just coasting along in this league, they don't care. You can't say that about any CBLOL team. Anytime a team in the league starts to kind of give up or die, they just sell their spot, right? That's why we had K-Stars come back in. That's why Fluxo's coming in there trying to make a splash. They have a bad split. They instantly change things up. We went from super team Fluxo to super rookies Fluxo. Why? Because it didn't work. And so they made changes. Yeah. So with CBLOL, that's I think why there's so much outrage over trying to cut teams. There are no teams that are going to be easy to cut here, and no matter who doesn't make the cut, you can bet people are going to be screaming and mourning their heads off after that.
Oh yeah. I think it's all about, at least for me, like the separation between being a fan and being a person that understands esports. So as an esports caster, I think I'm optimistic about what's to come, about the actual ecosystem and how things could come into more competitive, better international conferences and campaigns from our regions. But as a fan, of course, it sucks. It's terrible to think that you're not going to have your team there. And I totally understand exactly how everybody feels in regards to the passion involved. It's just so much. We are built on it. We are literally built on fire. And it's just so much flame that these supporters have for their teams. Always, even when they are absolute trash, they're going to be there ripping their shirts off, writing on their arms, like bot gap, stuff like that. So INTZ
has been
as you said, for like
one split, and their fans still show up in droves.
Yeah,
it's the situation of, why would you be upset with people being upset? Let us be upset. Let CBLOL fans
don't fucking
be upset.
It's perfectly reasonable for people to be mad that like the thing that especially is being shrunk, and it's there is a conception that it is losing identity because it is no longer, it is part of a whole now. Like, I don't think CBLOL is going to struggle, or the South Conference is going to struggle maintaining the CBLOL identity in any way. It's still going to be in Brazil, I believe, right? And it's still going to have all the Brazilian fans
same studio,
and the Brazilian
arena.
players. Exactly. It's still going to be the same. It's got a different name, and it is part of a larger piece. But functionally, I don't think on the day in the arena anything is going to change. And the fans will still show up and they'll get back to business without any problem. But it's fine to still be sad about it. The only wrong way to be sad about it is to blame the LCS for killing your region. That's the wrong way to be sad about it, I will say. Don't say that, Immortals took Liberty out back and killed them or whatever. Like, it's be sad about it and it's justified. But there was a lot of blame being thrown around that was probably not reasonable. And
if nothing else, it's just not that simple.
It's not. Like
the LCS is floundering, the CBLOL is growing. This thing happened. There is some correlation. There is some causation, right? And the last thing I'll say, because RMC's itching to talk here, right? I am Brazilian and I am American. I am as much an LCS fan as I am a CBLOL fan, right?
Yeah.
And obviously I know this is a very small, stupid percentage of the community, but I don't even have a problem with people like being like, hey, let's protest in front of Riot's doors. Do that. I'm an American, goddammit. I defend your right to
That's
protest.
my right.
Yeah. I defend your right. I defend your right to throw up a finger to the government, right? And or those in charge, and tell them what they can and can't do, right? But I don't. What is unacceptable is the death threats, is saying, oh, the Americans are the fault of this, or like, oh, calling for violence on people. And obviously this goes without saying. I didn't think, I was like, I probably don't even need to say this because I don't. And I know that the people listening to this podcast also are just sensible people.
Yeah.
But as someone who is on, is seeing both sides here, right? I'm just like, well, I don't like all this, this vitriol being thrown towards people that had nothing to do. Right.
Yeah.
And especially when this is a Riot Global decision, and when the Brazilians were brought in to be in charge of the Americas, right? And then that was funny also watching the Biono stream, when Biono and some journalists were talking about it. Right? They were like, oh, F, everyone in the chat was like, oh, F Riot America, Riot, USA for doing this. And they were like, Guys, it's Kako and
That's
Swivel.
your guy right now.
Yeah.
That's your guy.
Kako,
Like-
Swivel, and Lil Faria, because I know Lil Faria is the Valorant guy, and the Valorant, like, you know, that's a whole other thing. I know Brazilians are justifiably really bad about that because Valorant tier 2 in Brazil is basically non-existent.
Yeah.
Right. Right. And then the chat turned to like not, you know, F the USA. It was Judas.
Okay, and this is why I really want to talk right now, because here's the problem. I think CBLOL and LCS, they kind of got locked into their own little world. And I love the fact before you mentioned this is Riot Global. This isn't Riot Americas. I feel really bad for Kako. Like, that guy has been doing the best he can for Americas, for the LCS, for the CBLOL as well.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. We need to look at the greater context. What is happening and why is this happening? Sure, you can partially blame the LCS a little bit for what has happened, but it's a very little bit. What we have to keep in mind is what has happened globally right now. Globally, we now have 5 major regions, right? There is LPL, LCK, LEC, the new Americas conference that we are unfortunately a part of in more than one ways, you know, those of us who are from NA and supporting CBLOL, and the APAC region. The APAC region was the former VCS, PCS, LJL, Oceania. 4 regions got mashed together. They have 8 teams, guys. Like, now they're trying to standardize 8 teams across the board. I know, like, the LCK and LPL, LEC aren't quite there yet.
LPL's going to have 17 for however long it wants. Like, no one's going to take those away.
Sure. Like, they have their own sort of things. Like, hey, we can say that, but
all right, you've got a billion players or whatever. You can do what you want. I don't care.
I don't know about that. They are. I suspect they are going to cut down as soon as they see an opportunity there as well. Because the argument here is the global revenue pool is not big enough to support all these teams, because every team was collecting some money from Riot, and now that's a global pool. They're trying to cut down teams. So we'll see what happens to those big regions. But for now, APAC got completely shafted. Utterly shafted. Like, they just got mashed together. I have no clue what's happening, what's going to be the final form of that region. Here in the Americas, Kako protected CBLOL. If we look at what actually happened here, yes, we're losing 4 teams. And like 4 we mourn that. There is no good way to put that across. But
whether it would have happened now or would have happened eventually, that's still sucks.
Yeah.
And it's terrible, and no one should tell you how to feel.
Yeah. And we've got 8 teams. We still have 8 teams. That's what we need to remember. Yes, 4 of the existing teams will get knocked down. 1 of them can still come back in as that guest slot, right? We have 8 teams in half a conference or in our half of the conference compared to APAC. The entire region, 4 different leagues, has 8 teams total now. Yeah. And part of the reason why that happens with CBLOL, why we've still got 8 teams total, including the 1 LLE team and the 1 guest team, is because Kako is trying to protect us. Is trying to help as much as possible. Does this suck? Yeah. Compared to what we had before? Yes. But it's a global issue that's happening right now, and we are trying our best to do what we can. And guys, we talk about how mad Brazil is. I think Brazil just caught on faster because we had it good, and so any sort of loss, like anything that happened that was negative, we realized right away it's negative. Did you realize what the LCS has lost? The LCS loses 2 of their existing teams, and hey, you can argue that some of them won out. Sure, whatever. That's a whole different argument. But they've also lost international slots. CBLOL, we maintain our 1 MSI and 1 world slot. And I know people are arguing that, hey, we don't care about it. Sure, we don't.
That's fine.
But guess who does?
We care less
the
about
LCS
it.
cares.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Sure. The LCS has lost. They've gone from 2 slots at MSI to 1 slot at MSI.
Yeah, maybe 2, maybe, right? There's like the one up for grabs between North and South, I think, at Worlds.
That's
or is that
Worlds.
just Worlds? Yeah.
That's Worlds.
Yeah, that's
MSI is
Worlds,
just 1 each.
At the end of the
they
third split.
guaranteed lost 1 slot at MSI. And Worlds, they went from potentially 4 slots to potentially 1 slot. They get 1 guaranteed slot. They have to fight Brazil for the 2nd guaranteed slot. In the past, they were guaranteed 3, potentially 4 if they beat EU.
Yeah.
So they're screaming over there too. And I think the problem for North America, it's only starting to sink in now what they have lost. Because they got overwhelmed by Brazil screaming in the first place.
Yeah.
So
we are loud.
We're a bit louder. We're a bit louder.
Again, everybody's allowed to grieve. But guys from CBLOL, like, let's keep in mind too, like, LCS is going to start grieving soon once it starts sinking in what's happened to them. Like, everybody is kind of taking a hit. And for LCK, LPL, LEC, I'm still kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop, because I don't believe that only they get away with this. I'm sure they're getting benefits the same way CBLOL kind of got benefits compared to the other minor regions. But hey, who knows where we're gonna go with this?
Yeah, because this is a global, again, this is a global sustainability problem, right?
Yeah.
T1, the most famous esports brand in League of Legends esports, they posted a $9 million loss.
USD.
Yeah.
45 million reais. Right.
Yeah.
This past year.
That's the Faker one, guys, and they can't even make money. Like, if you can't make money with Faker, I don't know, man. Maybe it's too hard. Maybe esports is broken. Who knows? And like,
Loud is hemorrhaging money.
Yeah,
They're the most
and
successful Brazilian org of all time.
And it's not like, I guess, it's not like the LPL doesn't have, like, jokester teams that are also sort of hanging on with no, like, business being there, in the same way that you could, like, all the regions have these teams. Oh, we're losing teams, but maybe we're losing ones that aren't sustainable and don't really add anything to the league, blah, blah, blah. The LPL, you know, has these teams. It probably, you know, certainly by whole numbers more, because they have 17 teams. Like, it's just gonna happen, but they're the same in that sense, where they do have a lot of big brands and do have a bunch of money and all this stuff, but there is the same top to bottom idea there. So you might be right, RMC. They might end up scaling that back somewhat to only 16, maybe, you know. Maybe they'll only have 16.
Honestly, I'm more interested in like looking forward. Like once the grief has been processed, as to what we can do to maintain our region. Because I think Leon Buscher had this article he posted, you know, about the whole situation, a chronicle about the death of CBLOL. And one of the things that I really resonated with me was the fact that CBLOL is what it is today, and the fans are so passionate because it was built by the fans. This region, more than any other, we got less handouts, and we built whatever we had with the passion of the fans, and that much doesn't change. I don't care what Riot does. Like, they didn't kill the fans. The fans are still there. Your teams have been knocked out of that sort of tier 1 conference, but I see it as an opportunity for tier 2 to really flourish. We're already seeing teams like Flamengo get back into the academy scene. Tropa, Ryzen, Rise Gaming, IDL of all teams, right? They have the biggest fan base of all. Like, I could see tier 2 becoming like another CBLOL. You know, where and this one perhaps even more accessible, because that doesn't have to be franchise, guys. No. Tier 2 right now has no franchising rules.
Yeah, the return of promotion and relegation is, I think, it is invaluable. How much, and I think actually, you know, and
absolutely.
I really don't like. I think for LCS, it's a bigger paradigm shift, because there hasn't. I think Brazil has done a much better job in kind of the last 18 months of infusing fresh talent, right? And like RMC, I think was alluding to there. Or maybe you talked about this now, or maybe you talked about this before, like teams realizing they could take a budget option and still build incredible fandoms. Right? Yeah. Like Liberty was the most popular, not when they tried to spend money, but when they were like, fuck it, all rookies. I got to stop saying the F word or we're going to get
this our family-friendly vibe has really been stripped out.
But like all rookies, that was the most I've ever been interested in Liberty.
That Liberty vibe, their whole like, we are training to be better and not to win kind of thing. This is an academy mindset, in not in a negative way. This is a great fit for an academy system, especially one with promo relegation, where you have much more immediate like potential. The stakes are higher now, so you get higher rewards. You get to join and be a guest slot and maybe spend a split in the CBLOL as well. So like, I think there's plenty of teams that would do absolutely fine down in tier 2 for sure. And in terms of making what we can do with this, I suppose it's a shame that it's come at the time where we're in the midst of like a paradigm shift upheaval, where even the teams that used to be not good, they're now also good. So it's not just like it's not just keep the 6 teams that are always the good, at least mid to good ones. It's now some of these teams that you thought would have shoo-in maybe like one split ago, now we're like, have you really done that much over the last couple of years? And like, Fluxy's kind of cracked now, so like, can we keep these guys maybe? Because I want to see these guys.
The teams that are getting the most flack right now. It's not the teams that like Red Cannons, right?
Yeah, that was my call out. Yeah, Red is the worst defender for this one right now. So like, that is, if anything, it's interesting, but it's even scarier potentially for some of these like really embedded fan bases, where like, now if your team is having a bit of a shocker and you maybe don't have time to have a shocker right now, because there's only 6 slots going, and I don't know how their selection process is going to be, right? And we don't know what did they say they were going to publicly like put out what this is? I imagine they wouldn't, right? There's no way they would like leak the pro forma. So
in fact, like, I think Mark Zimmerman on the dive explicitly said like they're currently in negotiations. They cannot talk.
So like, who knows who is going to be there and what the reasoning for that is going to be, and you know, is one big question mark over who's actually going to be here next year, essentially. So I think something potentially, and so I don't know if you guys want to talk about who you would like to be there. If you had to pick 6, well, yeah, but let's get. I mean,
Pain's gonna be there. They're not that.
Yeah,
stupid.
Imagine that. Yeah, that would be bonkers. I mean, almost as bonkers as TSM
franchising fee,
leaving.
Like, the original franchising fee, they paid it like just straight out of pocket. Like, screw the installment plan.
Yeah, just swipe the card on the day. Like, let's just get that out of the way. No questions asked. Okay, to be clear.
Exactly.
Like the Black Platinum Amex or whatever. So I think if we had to pick 6 teams that we would like to keep, we'll keep paying. You know, we'll give RMC a little break there.
Thank you.
Throw out extended pity flag to RMC.
Yeah, I think I'd like to keep VKS for sure right now. I think if we're talking
Yes.
what's going to make the
Yes.
region better, I'll keep them, please.
Yeah. I mean, you brought CL in on a
Most
5-year plan. He's had half a year, guys.
Yeah,
You cannot
let's give
ask
him
like this.
the runway.
The man is in the
Yeah.
process of finding a Brazilian wife. Like,
He's on the clock
Seriously.
now. He's got to get one locked down, man. or
no,
it's-
that's the running joke. That's the running joke that he's
Yeah.
looking for Brazil. Like,
Yeah,
I don't think it's a.
yeah.
Yeah, he posted
You know what?
about
I'm
it
down for it to
yesterday,
be
to be
reality.
fair.
He's doing the hashtag not financial advice, you know, until it is. So he's covering his
Actually,
covering his bases.
funnily enough, when he was posting, he wanted to. He was talking about Dia dos Namorados, so Brazilian Valentines. He was
was
posting,
yesterday.
"I'm looking for, I'm looking for a wife and all of that." On the dot on the midnight for his birthday, which I think it was on the Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
He followed me, so there's some food for thought.
Oh, oh. Someone, I'm DMing Relic right now. I'm letting him know. There's danger. There's danger in the water right now. There's
You're
danger.
like, hey, just hold on tight.
Yeah, just so you
That's all
know,
I'm saying.
bro. Check the VOD,
Just
okay?
don't take it for granted. That's all.
Yeah.
The fuck?
Yeah,
Hey, man,
you
is
gotta-
polygamy legal in Brazil?
Well,
I'm just saying, if I was Sultan's
Something-
boyfriend, imagine that.
you know, maybe
I
it's not a
take Sil
question
as a
of
husband,
legality.
as a brother husband.
It's possible. That's all we're saying. It's possible. That's all we're saying. We're just asking questions, okay,
Yeah.
guys?
Dude walked so CL could run.
Yep, exactly. So,
Amazing.
does anyone else have a team that they would love to lock in for Sovchan? Do you have a team that you would be like, I want these guys. I want them to stay.
I mean, it has to be loud.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but I don't
They
think
have
there's no doubt about it.
They have to.
To be
Yeah.
fair,
Current
think
reigning
there's any
champions
doubt.
4 times. Yeah.
Yeah, and
I
like,
will
I
say,
think the
though-
fact that they're successful in multiple esports, it's not nothing.
That's
because
how they
those
lose the
fans
title.
Yeah.
right?
They lose
Like,
the slot.
especially-
absolutely.
Like in Brazil,
Yeah, they
and
lose the
North
title
America.
because they're not there.
Yeah, you can't be in the final, bro. You're locked out of the arena. Sorry, we ain't got a dressing room for you.
No, but they have a massive fan base. Like if you're a Free Fire fan, all of a sudden, oh, League of Legends is on. Guess what? I love loud Free Fire. Guess what? I love
Exactly.
Yeah, and
Who's
the
talented?
Valorant.
I don't know. I love
like-
him, and I would die for him.
You know, ex-world champions in Valorant in another game already. Like,
Exactly.
Yeah, I think Counter Strike as well.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
popping.
No, they got everything. Man. They have to be there.
But yeah, if we're talking about teams that we don't think are necessarily on a high up list, I would go INTZ first. INTZ is performing.
It's a
Oh,
spicy
there
one.
he goes.
It's a
There he
spicy
goes.
one.
I think they improved like exponentially this split, and it's not something to disregard.
Yeah, on top of that, like tradition too, right? Like the old school
Yes.
matchup is paying INTZ for a reason. INTZ is the most successful team in the region. Yes, I know they've struggled recently.
Still.
Yeah,
Still,
in
yep,
the
still, only
rinky-dink
INTZ has 5. Others may try.
rural-
That has not changed either way. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, which is hilarious. I saw a tweet. It was like, man, like if we call them, if we don't call them CBLOL titles anymore, if we call them, LATAM South or America South Conference anymore, and like, let's say Loud doesn't win this split, someone finally breaks the streak, they can go into 2025 being like, look, in the CBLOL era, no one was better than us.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Generally, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's so INTZ, it's the power of the logo and the name and the fans as well. I said, like, the fans are just, they are some
Yes.
of the,
Yeah.
they competing with Pain for most mental fortitude in fan base. You know, at least Pain gets to go to playoffs all the time. You know what I mean? So, like,
I don't know if that's better, to be honest.
well, there's an argument,
You
right?
will,
There's an
yeah.
argument.
They're getting the second
You know,
place.
everyone says that the most depressed Olympians are the second place ones. The third place ones are way happier. So I think,
Lifetimes, baby.
yeah. So, but like, which is the org that everyone has been saying is an absolute nightmare internally and is like crushing the dreams of promising players, and the management's is a shenanigan and a
People
mess.
Players are actively talked out of going there.
It's so it
What
once
you
again,
gonna see?
do they have money to compete at the financial table with like Fluxo? I don't even think they do, honestly. Like, is the vibe that I get. So like, there needs to be a lot of weight put on the history here, and that's not in the era of we're doing this for the global economy, guys. We're not doing this for the vibes. INTZ is mostly powered by vibes right now. Like, so
vibes and shrewd loan signings.
Exactly. So like,
yeah, vibes and rookies, man.
Yeah, like their team that's doing so well, it's like half not even there. So like, if they got punted, you would have a massive backlash. But then you have to go back to like, you know, the calculation and go, well, where's the error here? Like, show me where this doesn't make sense in a cold-hearted way. So like, I don't want to lose them right now either, because
yeah,
you know,
I think these are the 4 like sort of easier ones, and then after that things get complicated. Because I could make a case for the remaining 4, like the remaining 6 teams. All of them, I think, have a case of some sort, but they also have like sort of things that work against them.
Yeah.
From here on out.
I think Liberty has to go to Academy, man. I think their top placement has been 5th in the last like 6-7 splits or something, and they're interesting, but like, we're not going anywhere. And I don't think they're going anywhere right now. I don't think they're going anywhere this split. So
The
I feel like
really
Liberty got
helping.
really screwed by this news, right? Like they literally just committed to like rookie roster. They're trying to change up the system. I actually really appreciate what Liberty is doing. To me, it's similar to cked Stars in that they're trying to change the fundamental system by doing internal scrims, which is more football style.
Yeah,
and it's worked great for their academy team.
Yeah,
But the Liberty Academy, they have not dropped a single game yet. They are 5-0 after Super Week. They are the only team who hasn't dropped a game. So there is a lot to be said for them.
It's because they're perma-scrimming a CBLOL team and no one else. They're not scrimming academy teams.
They're not scrimming their academy
They're only
teams.
scrimming the main roster.
Hey, okay, fun stat about Liberty. They've played 4 games so far. Up till their last game against Red, Liberty has been ahead at 15 minutes for goal every single game. So there's something to be said for their training regime. It is working for the early game. Mid-game's a whole different problem, and maybe we'll talk about this later.
What a surprise. The CBLOL team with mid-game problems. Wow, shocker.
Hey, but their early game's one of the best
Never
in the
seen
league
before.
right now. So I feel like this program, given time, I was so excited to see this. I am still so excited to see this, and this is why, to me, it hurts that Liberty kind of got screwed by the timing of this news. If this news came out in advance, I am sure they don't run this sort of training plan, right? They go with something more standard, safe to try and get ahead.
Well, you can't have 2 academy
And
teams,
the
right?
sad part is
brave.
that probably would have backfired, I feel like. Because, like, I don't know,
Maybe.
like, like, how often do you see just, like, I mean, and this is kind of the one thing I am kind of worried about is, like, in the era of promotion and relegation, and I'm speaking more from LCS, but, like, there was no faith put in rookies. Because if you got relegated, it was like, God knows when you're going to be back. You could fall into the depths. You could fall into the abyss. You could just cease to exist, right? You make desperate decisions on veterans, right? And, like, you know, and one thing I will say, and actually I do have confidence about CBLOL's tier 2, when it was the circuitão, right, the second division, when there was promotion and relegation before franchising,
BRCC,
right? You exactly BRCC, right? You know who you had down there? BRTT. You had
yes,
you had
Titan was down there.
Massive players,
chilling.
right, who were already established and decided, no, I'm going to go down with the ship and I'm going to bring us back up. That's cool as shit.
Yeah.
That is incredibly hype, and so that gives me comfort, right? That, like, because people are, you know, you're fans of teams, so that'll keep us like, look, if Pain got relegated, which they did, Pain got relegated, Red got relegated, INTZ got relegated.
Okay,
right?
not only did Red get relegated, but by the way, the BRCC Red team, they went from like BRCC into CBLOL into winning because their BRCC roster was Giggle, Aegis, Avenger, Titan, and KaBuM at the time. But you know, like KaBuM got
that's
replaced by
disgusting.
Jojo. Yeah, that is basically like
messed up.
3/5 of the. Actually, no, that is 80% of the winning roster that went to, was it Worlds? MSI Worlds in 2021. Yes, Avenger got kind of replaced by Gravatar in playoffs, but Avenger played at Worlds. Avenger won against, what was it, Fnatic? Peace. Okay, yeah. Like they went, and their win was with Avenger on that team. So like they went from BRCC to Worlds in the span of like a year.
Yeah, people are loyal to teams. They are loyal to players as well, right?
Yes.
Titan goes down, like he knows he's still going to get a bag. He's still going to get, like, you know, like, because teams want to get back up. Right?
Yep.
And with limited spots, guys are going to have to play in the second division and fight their way up, right? That is the one thing that I am really positive about, especially for LCS, which has more of a tier 2 problem. That to put it bluntly, is that
it's a salt league for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. I think this will be a very good change for tier, but just gotta wait.
Yeah.
But and then for Liberty especially right now, that this is kind of,
it's a
by the way,
bummer.
doesn't it suck so much that CBLOL I think is like the best league at actually using their franchise spots the way franchise was meant to be used.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
guaranteed spots where you can actually try out rookies.
And they
Yes.
will sub in a rookie.
That was the one huge
Like,
blessing of franchising.
Yeah.
when it's a good idea.
Like,
Yeah.
and he never took good use of that. Like EU debatably doesn't really take great use of that with the franchise spots. But
I
CBLOL,
feel like they're starting to. Like you're seeing a lot more like.
I think-
ERL
A little bit more.
So,
but
like,
even then, they're using the ERLs as like testing ground. Whereas like
Yeah.
CBLOL, we are taking like actual gambles on some of these players.
Because like
Yeah.
EU doesn't,
I mean, remember
they don't
Evil
use
Geniuses
players
in
from their own
2021 in
team.
the LCS, how popular it was when Daddy and JoJo came up.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That team, like, everyone became a fan of them because they were like, yes, NA talent finally, and it worked.
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
sick. I cut you off, Trajan. You were saying.
Yeah, so like EU doesn't really use their ERL teams like that so much. Mad Lions just like, you know, posted their full academy team in, but like that's more, I don't believe they did that being like, this is the optimal move. We have checked 100% and this is gonna how like this is our plan. I think that they did that because they're like, oh, we have to do this now because we don't have another good idea or we don't have another good thing to do. I don't know if that's a vibe check, but like, and it worked really well. But I think they were like, oh, thank goodness for that. Like when it worked really well, I don't think they were like, aha, my scheme has come off perfectly.
We're
So
moneyballing it.
yeah, so like the ERL system is a great player development area, but those players just kind of, the franchise slots aren't like necessarily the key there. It's the fact that just EMEA Masters is good because there's lots of talent circulating around. So
I have just come to an insider realization. So stay with me.
yeah.
Brazil has the most established, so still on CBLOL, still in Brazil, but diverging a little bit. Brazil has the most established women's scene of League of Legends with actual competition, effective and official competition.
Truth.
All the other regions have, so LCS game changes happened once, definitely not as established as Ignis Cup. My point being, Ignis Cup would always just be for what we had thus far with the franchise. They would be Ignis Cup players. They would only play Ignis Cup. If they went to Academy, they would never be picked up by Tier 1 teams to go to Tier 1. As easily as it would be to be an established part of a Tier 2 team, being a woman or a trans or non-binary person that is on that 5 squad that actually could be promoted to Tier 1. That is the best way to effectively get these people and talent and players into Tier 1. And I think this is actually something that can and would happen because you're never going to see, as it is right now, Tier 1 being like, oh yeah, we're going to get a rookie from Academy, but they're going to be a lady. No, that doesn't happen.
Realistically.
So having this actually brings out a lot of opportunities, especially for Brazil, because we have such an established women's scene and inclusive competition. For the other regions, not that much. But for us, man, this is something, this means a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I just makes me when you bring that up because I just heard news yesterday that Pain Goddess got let go.
I know, it's terrible.
Such.
Absolutely terrible. I know.
Yeah.
I think the guest slot has been overlooked by most people in the losing slots, losing teams, losing MSI slots. The guest slot I think has been largely missed and is actually very poggers for everyone, and there's no downside. I think it just rules. It's really good. Like
there's one small catch. It's not true promo relegation because that team will always have to defend their spot for the next year or the next shift.
Yeah.
You could win your region.
Yeah.
You could go to Worlds. You could win Worlds, and your guest spot is still not guaranteed.
They'd probably be like, Imagine winning Worlds and then losing to flipping
then you
KaBuM
lose
Academy.
to All Night. Crastiel sends you back to the second division.
Because they're still hungover from the World's after party, and they're like, oh shoot, I forgot my promo games today against KaBuM Academy, and
one guy just
lives.
he sleeps through it, and they try to 4v5 with a Master Yi Taric combo and just can't quite do it.
Oh,
that'd be fire. I want that to happen now. I'm okay with that. That'll be
there are enough players. There are enough players in the academy where I genuinely could see them beating Loud after they come back from an international event. Imagine a team like you, Scary, Tiosh, who's in the bot lane who promoted recently.
It was
do we have any
Kojima didn't make it, sadly, or he didn't get.
Yeah, Mortius could come up. Yeah, you know what? I'll take Mortius. On a high
it.
streak.
Give it to him.
Yeah, we've got plenty of supports. Like Frosty was technically from up there. Like I could see them beating Loud on a bad day.
Yeah, that's the thing about any CBLOL team. Is their bad days are real bad. Okay, so we have an idea of some teams that we'd like to keep. Ultimately, as RMC, I think it said, there's a good argument for basically everybody to be kept. And when we don't know the rubric for what is being the selection process, there's really no way to know. There's a couple of them that are basically shoo-ins. I think the safe money is with Pain, Loud, like VKS probably, especially now. I think just the like movement behind them is so strong.
They have a huge fan base from when they were left,
I think it would be bonkers. Unless they're actually like in like a trillion hail debt to like a gambling mogul or something. Like there's no shot. So most of the teams, some of them I think are shoo-in, and the rest of them we just don't know, and we're gonna have to just wait and see. When it comes to one of the big problems that has been identified here, is that the Brazilians love their players. They identify players. They will follow them to academy and back. We are going to lose 20 of them in this top division. Well, we'll get 5 back maybe from somewhere, from the guest team, which could be probably some of them, maybe not all of them. And then the LLA team is going to be, I don't know, 2 out of 5, 3 out of 5 from somewhere? Or is it just like the organization name that's going to be LLA? Do they have, is it going to be like some LCS Academy players? And from like, you know,
what we've been told so far, the teams have to be 2 domestic players. You're allowed 2 imports. The import rule stays. And you're allowed 1 player from the Americas as a whole. So what I'm curious about with the LLA team is whether or not their domestic players will actually have to be LLA players, or whether at this point, like if you join the LCS, for example, are like 2 domestics considered?
Do they have a clear like LLA South, LLA North? Because like there's gonna be 1 North Conference team, 1 South Conference team, or can they? Or is it LLA?
Do for academy.
That can be, but okay.
But they're LLA. Like,
I bet I don't know, but I bet it would depend on just like, okay, where's the team like head. Like, and these are things I don't know.
Yes.
Right? Like okay, like Isurus, right? Are they a Mexican team? Or are they an Argentinian team? Are they a Chilean org? Right? Like,
because right now they show us Argentina. Leviathan. If you check them out,
if Leviathan jumped in, right? If Crew, right? They have Lionel Messi and a Valorant team. Like,
esports is so silly.
Silly. It really is
such a silly industry.
Yeah, from what I saw in the actual article in Portuguese, it did say something about proximity. So I think the headquarters idea makes quite a lot of sense. So you're talking about Mexico, you're talking about being closer, you're talking about Argentina, Chile, stuff like that, more towards us.
Yeah, because out of the 6 teams right now in LLA, because they shrank as well, unfortunately, there's
they don't
Argentinian teams.
They don't exist.
After this, they won't exist. They've got 2 Argentinian teams, 3 Mexican teams, and 1 Costa Rican team. So I'm assuming the Mexican teams, one of them will be the one joining LCS. I've heard a lot of Estral, but you know, I think R7 has a good shot too. And then I assume the other 3, Isurus, Infinity, and Leviathan, one of them will be attached to CBLOL.
Leviathan.
And by the way, Leviathan has CBLOL or Brazilian players. They've got 2 of our academy players in there at this point. So
good.
And in Valorant, they have the one of the Brazilian goats, Aspas.
They do.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Exactly.
Sure. So there are going to be some players that will not see as much. It depends. So for the academy system, I think that our academy system is good, and it's going to stay good. And there's going to be even more good players that are now sadly going to be forced to be in it because there's less spots in T1 for them to be. And we'll see if there is any adjustment from the 12 team. Like you said, they want to be 14, they want to be 16. We've got more and more teams, and it's not franchised. It seems like they can probably do what they want. Like, because it's different to NACL, which is different to LLA's systems. Like, the academy seem more or less under the control more regionally. If they're going to try and, because I think they've tried doing we're going to have 10 at the top, I'm going to have 10 below that, and that's going to be the system. When like franchising was kicking off, they started trying to do the system for a lot of them. One by one, they have all ditched that. Like, here's your team, here's your academy team. And like, I think the CBLOL was one of the last to hold on to it. I think of the everyone has to have an academy team style thing. But even that is now.
Yeah.
Like, the system just isn't just the 10 anymore. There's more going on there. So it seems like they can do what they want with the academy team regionally, and I think that's what Brazil's going to do, and they have a good track record there. So it might just be that academy is going to demand more of your attention, and not just RMC's attention, but everyone's attention, because there's going to be even more cool stuff going on down there. And, you know,
Yeah,
and that's as Sofchan mentioned, Ignis Cup as well. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff going on, not just the CBLOL in Brazil, that is going to continue going on, is my estimation. So, there's still content. Don't worry, everybody. I think an interesting point that I think you alluded to, 404, was what Doublelift and you'd said about the LCS not caring really about winning LCS, which I think is very important to mention as to why the CBLOL is better suited for this and will be fine. And I think is also like, you know, feeds into the angle a little bit more, is because they care about the CBLOL and winning the CBLOL, and the LCS is like irony poison to the point where they feel like they have to say that the LCS is bad and that international is all that matters because they feel like caring about domestic is like a sign of weakness or something. It almost feels
cringe,
like,
bro.
It is cringe to care about things, you know. And CBLOL is cringe, but they're free. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
I am cringe, but I am free. Yeah.
So
that's perfect.
It's the LCS is getting back to that, and it's so clear to me in the materials they're putting out. For anyone else who has seen the recent like season teaser that they put out, they're trying to refocus on the North American region and be like, you should care about what we're doing here right now because it's important and it matters and it's engaging and compelling, and they're doing a good job at that. But they are catching back up to where the CBLOL is. They're undoing years of Doublelift effect, you know, not to single him out. He's far from the only one, but he is the most vocal one, I think, who's been like, this region doesn't matter, spring doesn't matter, only Worlds matters kind of thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's like kind of doubly. This is why I said like NA should be grieving. I don't think it's caught up to them yet because we are starting to move back in the right direction when all of this hit, right? And now suddenly the narrative gets reshifted again. Everybody's so focused on the international spot. Screw that, guys. Like NA, take a step back for a second and just look at what we have. This spring split has been some of the most engaging, fun LCS we've seen in years. Why? Because we also looked domestically, right? We've got domestic rivalries. We've got teams kind of popping off a little bit here and there. Yappa is going off, you know, things like that. Embrace it. Learn to love it. And I'm going to be honest with you, like, for Brazilians, like Brazilians have been tuning in and watching in the LCS through Baiano stream. Baiano stream, I think, added something like 17-18% of the total hours watched to the LCS. Like, don't stop that. It's not the LCS's fault. If you enjoyed it, if you liked watching it, keep doing it. You know, like the LCS and CBLOL are completely still separate, right? Like in terms of their domestic regional play. So, like, I hope that this doesn't set back relations between North America and Brazil, which felt like they were really growing this year as well. And part of CBLOL English, we feel that especially because when we're watching CBLOL, they want to watch through us, right? That's how they do it because English speakers, most of them can't speak Portuguese.
Yeah,
this has absolutely set back international relations.
I think it's set back international relations for like a month. And I think a lot of the Brazilians will stop caring because they'll get back to watching CBLOL. And I think they will get used. I think they will come to terms with it. And there'll always be, you know, some grudge holders. But I think once they start actually piecing the two conferences together and putting those two like regional personalities together, I think they're going to mesh very well. And I think that like the regional finals that they're going to be doing, where it's like North versus South Conference and stuff, that is going to be so fire. That is going to be spicy. The content is going to be so hot for that because Brazil trash talks like nobody else. And like the LCS needs to prepare themselves for that. They've just like rediscovered what trash talk is, and it's Appa being like Lamau bad gank in all chat. That's like LCS trash talk.
Man,
and Speaker coming back is going to be fun. He used to trash talk a little bit, and now he's free to trash talk.
Exactly. And this is going to unlock the LCS to get back to a lot of like what the people want, which is more of that. And I think it's going to give the CBLOL a foil to CBLOL even more.
Tell you what I want to see.
Yeah,
I want to see APA going at it with Ranger.
Or Ranger pulls the shirt off with like the APA face on it with some Brazilian trash talk on it. Like the LCS, like they're gonna show up with like something written on their arm, like LCS, and then like Brazil team is gonna take all of their clothes off and they're gonna be body tattooed with like like a printout of like a DUI or something that one of their players got. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna be it's gonna be heavy, and I'm ready for that.
We're just in another level.
His shirt up and it's just gonna say "Caralho."
Yeah.
It's like, do we know what
Yes,
this means?
exactly.
No, but we know it's
It's like,
But we do.
You guys like that, right? You guys like that? And I was like, yeah, we
You
love
guys do that
that.
a lot.
Yes. So I think the relations are going to. It has been broken rather badly, but I think it's going to heal stronger, and it will be fine by the time once they've been put together, and once the regional stuff comes around. Brazil will have too much fun being CBLOL and like puff themselves up and getting into it. I think they will.
Yeah.
They'll get over it, and it will just
me
be better.
too. Just before we wrap up, I think my option is ripping up the shirt and then it says "Teu cu."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can explain later.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one. They'll get it later. They've got to look it up. They've got to Google it.
The context will be clear.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else that you guys want to talk about on this before we briefly mention what actually happened in CBLOL this week? Because we should probably touch on that.
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
I think I'm good with this. I'm more than happy to go CBLOL.
Yeah. Okay.
Same.
Let's go CBLOL. So honestly, it's a lot of it is not that different from last week. The upheaval has maintained, and that's why I described it as a bit of a paradigm shift, because it has not just been a week one where everyone's half asleep and no one knows what's going on. Fluxo, INTZ, and VKS are still clean sheet 4-0. Loud and Pain are still sus. KaBuM is still on fire. Red, slightly less so, but Liberty and Loss are also kind of still the bottom and Furious in the middle. So the landscape is the same, but we can maybe talk a little bit about how that developed going through this week. And particularly, I think, in a view to the upcoming matchups where we have things like, I believe, Fluxo VKS on Saturday. So we will finally get to see some top teams playing against each other. So out of VKS, INTZ, and Fluxo, who's the best? Who's actually the best team? They're all 4-0. Who thinks they knows who's the best?
Because
Yeah.
You guess?
I've got to say,
that hesitation.
I don't think it should be up there, and I'm kind of confused about it. Like,
Is it Fluxo?
Fluxo.
Yeah.
I was so down on Fluxo coming into
An
the
easy
split,
one.
and they have just amazed me. Like, they get paid to keep their record going. So
It feels. I don't know if social media has taught me this, and I'm just a play-by-play who agrees with what I read. It feels like a bit of a Shinny diff for Fluxo.
yeah,
Shinny is
it genuinely kind of does. Yeah.
Shitty's nice.
Yeah. They're
crushing
doing really well.
every
And the
game.
thing with junglers too, it's that it's hard to see their full impact because a lot of it's like communications and decision making, right? So when I watch Fluxo play, it's not like I'm going, oh man, like I know what Crack Shinny is meme
Crack
in Brazil.
yeah.
Like he's cracked, right? But I'm looking at this, I'm like, mechanically, Shinny is not stunning me, right? I'm looking at it like Kiari's good, but he's not being like a super clever when he's high, or like Robo or FNB or Kigo. Like he's doing good, but he's not like crazy. And Fu's like, this is not the Akali game from last split. Trigo, love you, buddy, but you're playing Jin. Like
My guy can't win lane on Lucian Nami. Like I don't know what he's doing.
Yeah, right. Like I'm looking at Fluxo, I'm going like, what is making them 4-0 right now? Like how are they winning well? And by the way, they're winning well too. It's not like I'm looking at them going like, oh, they should have lost that game.
They're
like,
not
KaBuM
cheesing.
and
They're
Weak
not doing what Red did or what Liberty did in last split. They're actually just winning.
They're just fundamentally good, and it's really weird to watch this in CBLOL and go like I actually want to analyze their plays because a lot of it's just really solid macro decision making coming through from them.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's because the core of like Fu, and they've swapped out the AD carry for a Trigo, but they've kept Scamber and they kept Kiari, right? So like there is the core of like expected decision makers. The only difference is Shinny. Is the only major difference to like, especially when you're thinking about these are good ideas, they're making good plays. Shinny is playing Sedge and Xin Zhao. He's playing like, we're gonna go and do this now, and I'm gonna do something, and you guys are all gonna follow on and do your things after me, kind of champions. So I feel like that has to be a big part of it, because the coaching staff is the same, right?
Actually,
Yeah, so on meta,
I think so.
On
Yeah,
meta,
so the coaching staff is the same, and we've suddenly it just works, and even like they're not necessarily giga smashing like early games, but they're just looking like a better team, and they're able to sit back and even when they're sitting back and winning late, they're not doing it like Loud does, where they do nothing and come back from 5k down. They're like stonewalling. I think it was against Los Grandes, right? I think they just like stonewalled them for like an entire game and refused to let them like get ahead with the lead, and became like completely uncrackable in that game. And it was just a very it's not a CBLOL type of strategy here. It's very interesting because even VKS look more dominant in the way that they win. They're still strategic, but they look even more, as like what RMC says, you don't really know why it's working. Like Fluxo just aren't, they're just winning, but they're not like giga stomping anyone particularly hard. You know, it's very odd, and it just keeps working.
Usually CBLOL, they're masters of a particular style. Like, name a team and you can talk about, like, oh, this is their strength. I'm looking at Fluxo, I'm like, you guys don't look like you have a strength. But you have no weaknesses.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what do we say? Like, this team needed a floor raiser, and that's what Shinny is, right? Like you said,
put them on the ceiling. Like,
yeah. The champions they haven't played. It all feels very intentional. Right?
Yeah,
they're not asking him to hard carry. They're just asking him to be experienced, right? Like, okay, maybe his fingers don't work, but like, again, there's a reason this dude was getting tryout after tryout after tryout, like every single offseason, right? The rumor was, oh shit, he's gonna be back. She's gonna be back. Last time he was in the league, he won a title.
Dude, another historic bag fumble from KaBuM, not getting Shinny online, because I know that was a rumor at some point, was that KaBuM wanted him, and I bet they really wish they got him now, because like,
for sure.
They're like, he's taken Fluxo to the top of the table like that. And they changed very little else. So
it really feels like, as you guys said, like the macro and the shell calling just feeling so cohesive and directed that even if you are in this game, as you said, Trajan, for Loss and Fluxo, it was a Lucianami Loss bot lane. And still they won with the Varus Nautilus. Like, how do you stonewall it just as much as you did from the get-go?
This is the thing about Trigo, right? Like, Trigo can't play the Lucian.
He will never win.
But if you play it into him, he will just sit back and go, okay, come at me, bro. I am going to lose this lane the exact same way I lose any other lane and not worse.
By 5 CS, and that's it.
Yep.
So they're doing great. I think we would normally, I think the general vibe is that we think VKS are probably better, and they'd probably be favored against Fluxo because they both look very confident, very low on mistakes, but VKS are also having big advantages built early on in the game, especially last weekend. Even Smiley is now just like absolutely
nice now.
Smoking.
Smiley's just playing Ashe.
Yeah.
Like, can we stop giving Smiley Ashe? Like, guys,
that's a good point.
Please.
Yeah.
And this is this particular like love letter to Pain. Ban properly, draft properly. We know he's been like first slamming Ashe, and we just gave him Ashe. It's like, bros.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Why?
We do also need to ask.
I expect teams to do this.
We do also need to ask Curry to play properly after last weekend, because that level 1 from Rel was.
I love Sarkis's face.
One of the worst.
He was being interviewed. He's like, "What the hell's going on up there?"
Yeah,
and you can see that the look where he like double takes when he realized not only Curry just randomly walked up, Titan's like up there too, and he's like bro, like we just gave two.
What are we doing, guys? It was. Oh, so it's just like, you don't review that. You just go, listen, coach, I know you don't have to tell me. It won't happen again. My God, I'm sorry. So, it's still tight to Curry. They hit more than they miss, but that was a funny one. That was a crazy miss. So, if VKS is there, Fluxo we know is really good. It's hard to say why, and we'd probably put VKS over them. INTZ chilling in the middle here. In the inevitable INTZ VKS match. How are we thinking about that? Because I feel like INTZ as well. Right? They're the giant, we're getting the giant terminology out there. I was like, okay, now I can finally start using it again because we're off the bottom of the table. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
By the way, too, that matchup is going to be the last matchup of, or the last week of round robin 1. So that's week 5, day 1 will be the cked Stars INTZ.
When they're both 8-0, and they will.
Yeah, that could be the 8-0 matchup. It's possible.
Yeah,
we're halfway there.
Yeah, I love their strategy against Loud too. Was like, that's not like this is the reason they won in the game, but like, and you've seen Robo do really disrespectful things even when he is 0-7 on Renekton. But it was, I just loved how kind of shameless and like not high level it was. It was just, we're gonna chain gank the shit out of Robo. We're just going to get him over and over and over and over, right? Renekton's an early game win con. Guess what? Like, you don't play the game for 15 minutes anyway. We're going to take the controller out of your hand for 15 minutes. Dude, if you wanted to pick up the controller, you couldn't hit any buttons even if you wanted to. And it was really simple. And again, that's not like the reason they won, but take the Renekton out of Robo's hands, right? Like, Robo's been having a good split.
It's a strategy people employ against Loud a lot, but they never win with it. They all try and chain gank Robo, but then they lose. And INTZ didn't lose. So we've cracked something here. We know that we can dive Robo. but we can also win the game now. So big for the region.
What I really liked from INTZ was, despite the chain ganks on Robo, they were actually down gold at 15 minutes. Like, they weren't winning the laning phase. They were still getting outplayed by Loud, because Loud are the best players basically in the region for the most part. But INTZ's willingness and attitude towards that, at no point did it feel like, hey, we're ahead, sit back and don't lose the game. It was always like, we need to win this game. Like, even when they were ahead, they were still playing aggressively, like they could lose the game. And I think that's what a lot of teams in Brazil, especially against Loud, don't have. Once they have a lead against Loud, they're just like, okay, don't throw this lead. INTZ was like, what lead? we don't know what a lead is. All we know is we need to keep killing them on repeat over and over and over again. And that's why the game got so scrappy, was because in the mid game, when teams sit back against Loud and Loud starts to come back in, INTZ never gave them that. And sure, they lost some of those fights and they were giving up kills and they got picked. But at all times, they pressured. They never gave up. And eventually, that ended up getting them that winning game fight.
Yeah. So that matchup is going to be, I hope it is an 8-0, 8-0 for those two, because that would be very exciting. And honestly, INTZ still, they do look a cut above anyone else who's not called VKS or potentially Fluxo right now. But the Loud question here is they lost to INTZ, fine. INTZ looked really, really good, right? And we saw the strategy there. They did beat Liberty, but Liberty was also very close. That was more like a last split Loud game where you beat them, you beat them, oh, you lost to them. Whoops. So Liberty almost beat Loud. Very solid game from them, admirable performance. They then went into Red and got dismantled by Red, who remembered how to play the game. So how do we feel about Liberty right now after this week? Having a great performance against Loud, but losing in the Loud way, and then kind of getting just stomped on by Red. Like, are we still feeling like they're just a bit hopeless, like they looked, or do we get any positive feelings about them after the Loud game, or are we just back to 10th place Liberty?
I feel like in particular the Liberty Loud game, yes, I agree with you. I think it was a very good performance from Liberty, keeping it up and afloat the way they did. But it also felt like Loud was doing what they usually do in regular season, like, oh, okay, we're fine. We're going to bounce back. It's okay. And then it was very close, and they were like, oh, okay, we got to finish right now.
Lock
and then
in,
they
boys.
finished.
Yeah.
20 minutes, we got to go get our lunch. Just
Yeah. Just go. you know. So, yeah, as much as it does feel like they were doing steady, I think it was also like a mirage. Like, it wasn't really Loud playing as they should be playing. As you said, like, it feels like they forgot the game and they were just like, okay, now it's time to actually act up. So when you go against Red, as we saw, and then Red is just like, no, we're awake from the get-go. We're fine. It's not like they're doing exceptionally well this season, because they're not, but still, Liberty was like, oh, okay, you just broke our ankles. Okay, that's fine.
It's a kind of big bait of like Loud being regular season Loud into Liberty being like early game Liberty, which again, as we pointed out, they've won almost all their early games except for Red Cannons. So I think Liberty has deeper problems, and it has to do with their practice regime, right? Like, you're scrimming an academy team, and so you're used to being able to leverage those advantages, whereas like up against CBLOL teams.
Yes.
Like, now you're up against teams who, first of all, know how to bounce back. I don't think there's any team in this league right now who hasn't had some sort of struggle, in the mid games in the past, and known how to come back from a deficit, and just better players all around. So you can cook the early game, you can plan the early game, but each second that goes past in League of Legends, your options get exponentially more complicated. So trying to plan for a mid game is nigh impossible right now. And I think
you
that's
can't
what
drill
we're
a mid
seeing from
game.
Liberty.
It's like almost impossible to drill a reasonable mid game. There isn't like a Baron fight or a Dragon fight. When you're trying to rotate properly between your 1-3-1 into your Baron play, and you like forget to ward and you face check a bad brush, like, it's just too many. There's too many variables here, and I don't think Liberty Academy may be 5-0, but I don't know if they can put together a Loud team fight on repeat during the drills. So it is tough to fix that aspect of the game, that's for sure. So potentially still pretty down on Liberty, waiting to see anything more than like anyone else can offer, which is a good early game. How about Red? That Red win looked pretty good. One of the best wins anyone's put together, even our top teams, Red put a very strong win together for Liberty. It's Liberty, yes, but like, they also didn't completely fumble the bag, which they kind of did the first 3 games. Like, so we saw some improvement, I think we can give them that.
Their most disciplined game, I think we can.
Yeah. They held it together. They did not forget or just give up on like thinking through what they're doing, I suppose, as they were doing before.
I find it funny that that's the game that Aegis isn't playing an aggressive.
Was that a Sedge game? Did they actually put him on Sedge?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, unlucky Aegis. Put the pool away, buddy. Get back on the Sedge. Back on the Zinjal. Let's do it. We need to make playoffs, please.
Like generally, I think Aegis is a good carry player. Everybody knows that. Nobody's doubted he's a good carry player, that he can play those champions. But I think just putting him back on supportive champions is beneficial to the team. We got to see Grevthar actually sit and lane for a change. Like, yes, he's still down 50 CS by the end of the game, but the laning phase itself, like, way into Tristana, I think he did pretty decently. He was pretty close CS-wise. Like, he didn't fall into a massive hole. It was more of the lane rotations after, which is fine, right? Yeah, I think stylistically, I'm sorry, Aegis, you probably don't want to hear this, but you might have to just go utility support for the team.
Yeah. And when
same phase,
when they kept it simple, they were able to make good decisions. They were able to slot back into a was probably a very familiar play style. You know, Aegis has been in this game a long time. He's played a lot of Sedge games. I think he knows how that's the style works.
Yep.
And it did feel like they were just very comfortable, and suddenly it just kind of clicked on that day. So maybe it is the draft and the style, or maybe they are starting to show some Nelson.
You say that, Trajan, and it reminds me of the old Red Cannons team when you had Titan be the main carry, right? Like, you put Aegis on a utility champion. It is literally comfort in a way, for Red Cannons as an organization, where you've got your big carry be your AD carry. He's going to win lane with a mechanically talented support. You know, Aegis, Grevthar, just play safe, skill up. You know, we trust you'll do well. We know you've got the hands for it. Aegis play support so that when you run face first this time, like, it's not a Leeson who gets immediately blown up. It's a Sejuani who gets half cooked, and you can still carry. Like, you're still there for the rest of the fight. We have a top laner like Gigod back in the day where you do your own thing, mate. Like, we're just gonna 4v4 down here. As long as you win your lane, you can do anything you want up there. And FMG goes 7-0-8, right? Like, this feels like the winning formula for Red.
Yeah. So
I think so too.
They can always fall back on that, hopefully. And like, I think they will see if they want to stick with it. Now, this coming week, they have Furia and Pain, both on the table, mid-level, both in performance, mid-level, I think we can say so far. They're both 2-2, and they've had... Yes, RMC, get your Pain take out. Let's hear it.
I'm sorry, the schedule's hilarious. Furia can't win a game on Saturday. Pain can't win a game on Sunday. And Red gets Furia Saturday, Pain Sunday.
Oh, easy.
Like, this is perfect.
Just as planned. Going 3-3, boys.
Just noticed that when you pointed that out. I was like, wait, hold up.
Yeah. So, on Furia and Pain, both 2-2, like, Furia are just the quintessential mid team. They're fine. Some of them are good. Sometimes some of them are bad, and they're generally not as bad as the ones that are bad, not as good as the ones that are good. So like, it's this is a 9-9 looking ass team, and like, do we think that there's room here? Because we've seen a couple of weeks of like of Wiz and ZZK back, and how do we feel about, because that was the biggest piece 404. Like, are we thinking there's room to grow now, or are we sixthing it?
I mean, I think it might be, they might just kind of liberty their way into sixth, if nothing else, just because like I don't know if some teams like, you know, like, I expect the middle to get very mushy, right? I love what I've seen from INTZ, but I don't expect them and Fluxo to maintain this level, especially Fluxo, right? Less so than I'm less confident in this take than with each passing week, but I don't expect. I expect the KaBuM dumpster fire to at least be like managed. I expect them maybe not to put it out, but they're gonna like dig a moat around it so it doesn't spread. You know, and they're gonna put like
they're not gonna get worse.
They're gonna pre-burn the area around it, right? Like forest rangers do. And yeah, so I think they could make the playoffs being like 8 and 10. I think unfortunately this is still a bit of a yardstick team. But I think there is room to grow because I've seen room to grow, right? Just given what ZZK and Wiz have done in the past. Maybe ZZK is less motivated because he got the bag from Saudi Arabia. That's perfectly reasonable, right? But we know he's got it in him. We know Wiz has got it in him. Tut's the CBLOL champion. I think the ceiling is still pretty high for this team. I think they can still do it, right? And JoJo, I mean, look, we saw, what the absence has done for Red Canids in that it has, promptly put them in the toilet and left them like a ship without a rudder. Like, what's to say he can't have that, he's played with Korean players before as well, right? Actually Has Jojo played with Korean players before?
Surely
Go
he's
back
been
to the
around
rosters
for
he's been on.
a
Good
hot
question.
minute. Well, so he was
Not on
on
Red.
You started on
Because on Red, he
Championship Red, right?
right
He
yeah,
was,
so, like,
but they had no
and he-
Koreans in their
they
roster.
had no Koreans. The Fluxo Super Team had no Koreans.
Mm.
Now he's
Is
back
that
on
is
Red.
it? Has my guy been on
And then he
3
came back
teams
on Red.
total? That seems crazy.
Yeah, because he came in with like he replaced KaBuM in 2021. That was his
my
it wasn't
word.
his debut. He
He's
he
on
was
Red.
on one before that. Was it 2019, 2018? There was
Yeah.
one CBLOL roster he played on before that.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe
He's
he
also on
hasn't.
Flamengo.
He's
Never mind. He was on Flamengo. Wait, no, that Flamengo had no. Oh, they did. Their top laner. In 2020.
He was the
Split one.
sub for Lucy at one point
Oh, no,
on
I didn't know
Flamengo.
that. Oh yeah, he was the sub for Lucy. Yeah,
The sub for
with
Lucy.
Absolute.
So
Okay, so
been-
he's definitely been on. Woof.
Irregardless.
imagine, yeah, not a lot of Korean exposure.
But
No.
he's had one.
Mhm.
As far as I can see.
Sure.
So
And, like-
I think they have room to grow, right?
Yeah.
And IU, look, I'm still going to continue to believe in the IU
There's
the
always
IU
room.
ceiling.
Yep.
We've seen it, right?
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll
Yeah,
see.
and
I
we-
think they're going to be okay, but I think they're going to be exactly that. They're going to be okay.
Yeah, and we know Pain can be better than they are.
They
I
will be.
so do we think
Yeah.
Pain is? Are we still just like? Because for me, it feels like we're suffering that everyone is just slowly becoming Titan the longer they're on a team with him. Like, in terms of like, where
Oh, no.
like what have we done to Weiser? Who has like, just put some like of Titan's DNA in like his juice in the morning or whatever, and he's just
No.
turning into
The wiser problem is just that he's domestic now, so he plays Mordekaiser, right? That's how this
Oh,
works.
true.
Oh well, there you go.
That was
Quick,
fun
quick,
when he
quick, quick,
busted
quick.
that out.
I'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah. I will say, okay, I actually think Payne's problem is not player related.
Do you think it's more the
draft?
drafts?
Their Sunday drafts are atrocious right now. Okay, not atrocious. Like they're not like a 1 out of 5, but like there are a lot of question marks in their drafts right now. They feel a little bit ego. They
Yeah.
are blinding picks. So they probably shouldn't be blinding. Like
Yeah.
if you can get to late game or if you can play to the win con, sure, but it's a very narrow win con. And I have seen this before. This happened in 2022 as well with Payne. That was the split where I was like crapping myself whether or not they'd make it. They also did this in 2021, split 1 where they actually won. I think they were like 7th for most of the regular season or something like that. Like the PRT2
Was that the one where they started like 3-7?
something like that. Yeah. I think that was either the 2022 or 2021
Yeah.
split one. Yeah, they've done this before, so I'm not losing my mind over it, but I am also not particularly enthused. This is draft issue.
You're not mad. You're just disappointed.
Hmm.
Yeah, basically, like guys, I'm supporting Payne, not Loud. Like if I wanted to see this, I'd go support Loud. It's just like weird things are coming through from them. The fundamentals, the mechanics are still kind of there, and in a way, it's almost forcing the players to be better if they want to win, because you're certainly not going to win this through draft. So they'll fix themselves. I have very little concern for that. In the meantime, I am bracing myself for some more losses. I'm expecting to see losses still in the first round robin.
Yeah. Well, they've got Liberty first, so let's maybe hope that we don't. That Titan and Curry don't go from
They
losing
lost last
to
split to Liberty.
like losing a Trigo to losing to Macau. Let's not combo this one into the other. Let's not do that. Hopefully. Okay. So KaBuM, I'll be honest, guys. I don't want to talk about KaBuM.
We don't have to.
They have played
Wait,
0
actually-
good games of League. They have 1 win, and it was not a good win. And they have 3 losses, and they were horrendous losses. And that's all I have to say. Does anyone else have anything to add on KaBuM before I?
There is
Jump out
people
the
have been
window.
calling for a roster change, Trajan. I want to pick your mind on
Yeah,
this
me.
one.
Since
Yeah,
last season. It's all my burners, bro.
No, they're not off season. They're calling for it mid season right now. They want Scary in for Malrang. IDL, almost all of them on their podcast were saying Malrang's the problem. Like Malrang's not doing poorly, but he's the problem. And they're talking about, hey, promoting Scary, that would solve everything. Your thoughts?
Solve everything. Well,
Yeah.
Shinny kind of solved everything. So
Sure.
Shitty's not scary.
yeah, exactly. Shinny
Bit of a
wishes it was
gamble.
scary. Shinny
Well,
wishes.
that Joker.
Yeah,
he does a
he's
Joker
like-
cosplay.
Oh, dude, it's so funny, dude. The player pictures are lit. I love the
It's
ones
amazing.
that are Yups and Yampy like phoning each other. I like those ones. Those
So
are.
cute.
It's good. It's good content, man. It's good content.
so good.
So yeah, KaBuM are in the bin, and they make me sad. We'll see if they do.
Brothers
next season.
dodging the question. Scary.
So, Scary's good, I think.
Okay.
Scary's at least fine. And I don't know. For me, it's when I watch these games, it's hard for me to be like, we've given Maurang Vi, and he's gone in and no one else's. Whose fault is that? Is it Vi's fault, or is it everyone else's fault? I don't know. Could be anyone's fault. And I don't think Maurang is doing anything particularly amazing to like overperform and drag his team further towards a win than they'd be without him. I don't know if it's clear cut that he is the problem, but he's certainly not the solution either right now. He's jungling, and I think a lot of the confusion and like the just absolute disconnectedness, I think, is probably everyone's fault. But Batal's having some good games, so that's nice. Yeah. Genuinely, that's good. That's good for Batal. He's having a nice time. He's probably not having a nice time, but he's having some good lanes. So
yeah.
Well, he's getting to play carries. It's just one of
yes, he's had that. We'll always have the game. We'll always have the Gwen game, Batal. We'll always have that. You and I. So, KaBuM is in the bin. I think the one that once again we have to talk about at the end because they're always at the bottom of the table is Los Grandes. Still winless. Still very depressed, and it's. You know,
BRTT hasn't won a game in CBLOL since 2021.
No, still, and the weeks drag on. Do we think? I personally don't know if we learned anything from week 1 to week 2. I think they lost in very similar ways. The Fluxo game as well. Like, Lost were doing some things as they had done in week 1 at times, but they just at some point they lost grasp of the steering wheel, and they just never got it back. You know, so. Does anyone feel any different or more positive or negative about Lost than did last week?
I feel very conflicted with them because BRTT is actually not losing his lanes.
I thought his Lucian game was good, and even like in the mid game, he was up there, kind of making plays and being aggressive to the point where it actually scared me a little bit. I thought, he's gonna die here, he's gonna overstep, right? There was a couple times, but it's like, it's what you got to do is Lucian in the mid game, right? Like, your ult is sometimes like, hey, let me soften up a target before we go in, so that if the enemy Maokai tries to jump in, he's down
for it,
right?
Yeah.
And he was doing that shit, right? He was not a passive Lucian in the mid game, so like, that's good.
Yeah. I mean, that's peak BRTT, right? Back when he was dragging Pain to victories.
He was playing correctly in that game, for sure.
Like this is like what Titan's known for. Like these sort of decision play-making AD carries is what Brazil as a whole is known for, as popularized by BRTT. So it feels like he's got his groove back mechanically, which makes everything else so much weirder because there's the exact same Los Grandes roster last split, except for BRTT. And we criticize Celo saying, hey, this guy's struggling mechanically and his decision-making is kind of sus. Well, we've got somebody who can make decisions, BRTT, and we've got somebody who, and he's getting back to mechanical form. And last split, Los Grandes was the team fight team, right? Like they were greater than the sum of their parts.
Yeah. Now they're worse.
This split, we are the less than the sum of our parts. Like, guys, what is going on here? Like, was Celo like the secret sauce? Like
the shot caller all along. I knew it. So in the last game, they played Nocturne Orianna. The simplest. There is one thing that you do. You do Nocturne Oriole, and then you just win the fight off that. You've got a Lucian who can do whatever he wants to win the fight off that. And it's you do one thing, and you do it on cooldown. And almost every time they did it, they won the fight. And whenever they didn't do it, it was 5 to 10 minutes of them achieving nothing while Fluxo just held them at arm's length, scaled up, eroded their gold lead, and then, eventually we're 40, 35 minutes into this game, and we've scaled up in a 0 or whatever. So is this a problem of lack of initiative from C's and Envy, or is this Fluxo failing to present an easy target as much as, let's be honest, a lot of other teams do against Nocturne Orianna?
Okay, just to put this in perspective, Nocturne out's 90 seconds at rank 3, Orianna's is 80. So roughly 90 seconds for this combo. Every minute and a half it's up.
Yeah.
We've got 5 minutes of staring at each other. No team in Brazil is so strong that in 5 minutes there's not one exposed person to pull that trigger on.
Yeah.
And I feel like even if it's not the perfect engage, at some point you've got to do something. And the good thing about Nocturne Orianna is even if it whiffs, it's quite easy to walk away from because Paranoia is still on, Ori Ball is still on, you have a spell shield on Nocturne and a speed boost to get out of there. Like, if you whiff it, you can kind of walk away, even if, and it's especially if you have flash, you know what I mean? It's very hard to actually immediately punish it. And
Or
they
if you've
just
got
weren't
Cabby,
even
just
trying.
tidal wave.
Yeah, just throw it out. Like, so it feels like, I don't know who's making that call. It feels like C's, maybe if it's his
Nobody
job, or
is.
exactly, nobody is, or there's always someone being like, no, it's bad, or no, don't, or I need to get this cannon wave or whatever. So that was the bonkers thing, was you've drafted such a linear, in almost the truest sense, like word. You literally go crows fly from A to B when you press R, and they couldn't find more than like 4 chances to do it in a 40-minute game, and that was just strange, to the point where BRTT has to dash in 1v5 to make something happen. You know what I mean?
Yep.
This is not why we draft this comp. So that is just such a crazy thing to do. I loved them drafting that comp because it seemed like such an easy way to try and fix the problems they were having, and almost it just exposed them even more. So,
Yeah.
yikes.
I think it's what we talked about last week, Trajan. It just feels to me Los Grandes is not having communication properly. Like it's miscommunication at every turn. If C's wants to do something, BRTT is like, no, I need to finish this item. Well, just making assumptions, right? Making like hypotheses, or like BRTT is like, no, we go win now. And the others are like, wait, are you sure? Like, it's the hesitation that really doesn't connect. And as you said, like when they're drafting, to have these combos directed for jungle and mid together with Nocturne Ori, if you don't have a clear communication with BRTT to establish what you both want to do together, then you miss a lot of the damage that your carry is supposed to deliver anyway. So it just feels like that is the problem for them. They have, as you said, the sum of the parts is looking a little iffy. The parts itself, they're fine, but the rest together is just not working great.
Yeah. Okay. So, yet to see progress from Loss. Again, a team that we knew was overperforming their potential, but has now lost all of it. And we know that the individual 10 to 15 second periods of watching Lost games, you can be like, that was good, but that's it. We can't string them together into a win. So they remain at the bottom. Let's take a quick look. It's going to be a quick look at next week's matches, because to my money, there's like 2 good ones. I'm going to keep it a buck, guys. Everyone listening and watching, you should come and watch still, because it's Brazil, and even the quote-unquote bad matches are good, and also like any match could be amazing for no reason whatsoever. We've got the source in this region, everyone knows this, but like Fluxo VKS, interesting, I want to see it. 4 versus 4-0, both very controlled, love that. Maybe we see another Fluxo upset to stop the VKS energy, cool. And I'm looking at all the other matches, guys, and I'm thinking maybe Pain Red, maybe, or it's a horrible game.
If Red wake up, like Red are in my thing that I'm watching this week is that Fluxo VKS matchup, but Red needed 2 a week now. Like
actually.
They put a lot of, they don't need 2-0. They need a 1-1.
If they get it, it would be very big news, because then they're back in the mix straight away, because then they've had 3 good wins in a row.
Yeah. Okay, but that's the thing with the Pain Red matchup, is I'm actually not worried for Red. I'm more worried for Pain on that one.
You're always worried for Pain RMC.
Yeah, I mean, that could be an interesting matchup.
Yeah, it could. That's going to be a CBLOL match, I think, for sure. But like a lot of these have fairly clear favorites, and we're needing someone to buck the expectations to give us a new result there. And this potentially could leave us with an even more sort of stratified standings at the end of this week, because we have a quite clear top to bottom. We have a top 3, we have a 5-team middle pack, and then 2 at the bottom. It's, some of the middle pack I think have very easy routes to get to the top, especially teams like Loud and Pain, which when playoffs comes, they're going to be up there. That's just no question about that. So we still have now basically the usual suspects of like Pain, Loud, a VKS now, but then we also have Fluxo and INTZ. So we are still seeing, I think, the depth increasing, the depth of quality and depth of field increasing in the CBLOL, at least for now. It's only week 2. We've all seen Fluxo and like House's teams just go 8-0 and then completely, lose their minds. So I'm optimistic, but will not want to speak too plainly, I guess, on how good they actually are.
I would say actually in regards to expectations, we can also talk about predictions. And if you are interested in who is going to win next week. You just
True.
watch the broadcast, see who I vote for, because I got a perfect weekend last
week. Of course, we were waiting for Subchan to bring it up. It had to happen.
You know what?
Yes.
Here you go, Sub.
Yeah.
True.
Golf claps all around from the 2 to 5 predictions out of 10 week 1 into the perfect week 2. That's a turnaround for the books.
10 games.
Yeah,
10 games
absolutely.
is a
Not
lot
even
of
Liberty
games.
could pull one off that big. So fair play. Fair play to Subchan. Now, we do have a few community questions to get to, and then I will have a few final questions to pose to you guys as we sign off. But a couple of these are to do with the Americas announcement, but we do have one that is to do more directly with the CBLOL from FCZ, which is, I'll skip the part about him being unhappy, but he wants to hear about Shinny. He wants us to talk about Shinny, similarly called Goat Shinny, perhaps. And now I guess we've spoken a bit about how much Shinny is doing for Fluxo, but is Shinny the best performing player in the entire region right now, like in terms of MVP, like most valuable player so far? I think he might be
most valuable. He's got a shout if you're taking like the strict definition of
like
valuable,
who's doing the most, you know, in 2024 Split 2.
Yeah, out of value. I mean,
because VKS has good players, but they're all kind of good, so they're all stealing each other's thunder.
Yeah. I mean, right now, like you've got 3 teams undefeated, so I feel like I've got one player from each team who I think could make a shout for MVP. It's
how many of them are
Shinny
junglers?
For Fluxo. One of them. They're all different roles, actually.
You doing Yampy like that? Damn.
I'm sorry, Yampy. I'm looking at Dioj, man. That man swept the MVP
Dioj for
one.
sure.
Yeah.
And even in like week 2, Dioj has been absolutely critical to that team. Sorry, Yampy. Love you, buddy. But you know, like the thing is, Yampy was not INTZ last split. He tried. He really tried. He was the best performing player.
He was.
He couldn't pull them out of 10. Dioj comes in with Yups, and they are suddenly first place, like undefeated. Like there's some magic there. For Kate Stars, for right now, for me, it's Smalley with that Ashe. Like, please ban Ashe, guys. Like, we cannot be giving that for free repeated. So, Shinny, we already talked about him. Like, this guy's magic somehow, but I love the magic.
He is
like visible. A lot of it's like it feels like sleight of hand. It's under the table. We don't know what's happening. And what impresses me the most about Shinny is he's coming back out of retirement. How many players have we seen come back out of retirement? Trick. That didn't end well.
BRTT.
Wiz is back.
Yeah.
BRTT, like individual, you can make a case for him, but he's not winning. Wiz came back out. Again, he's fine, not winning. Like to me, it blows my mind that Shinny came out of retirement, and he's been trash talking Pain a lot. He put his money where his mouth is. He beat Pain, right? Like Shinny's really impressive to me for the reasons that for his coming out of retirement reasons and still performing at this level from the get go.
100%. We love a bit of Shinny for sure. From Lunar Day, who asks, how big is the rivalry between Argentina and Brazil, and how do you think the LLA rep, most likely from Argentina, will be treated in Brazil? Not negatively, just like, do you think a Brazilian would sign to the team, or the fans would cheer them if they were the rep? Now, Subchat and 404, you might be better placed for this, or an RMC as well. You guys have all been watching the region longer than I have, and potentially seen some LLA more than I have. So
I'll let Soph go first on this.
Yeah, how do you feel about the
I have my takes and perceptions, but
how do you feel about the regional?
I'm not touching this with a 10-foot pole right now.
Well, yeah. Like there's no way of not touching or thinking about soccer, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say, if the team was 100% Argentinian, like no other players, they're not doing imports, they're doing just local. I think people would have a hard time. I think fans would have a hard time rooting for them and supporting. I think but if it was a team, you know, with what you said, you're talking about like America's players, you're talking about the Latam and one Americas, the 2 in the actual region and the 2 imports. I think people will be okay. But if they were to be trash talking, that team in particular, we would be extra spicy. That is a guarantee for sure.
Bit of extra energy there.
I think Soph's point is actually a really good one. I didn't think of. Like, it depends on the makeup of the team, right? If it is just 5 Argentinian players, because if it's 5 LatAm players and like 2 of them are Mexican and 1 is Chilean, no one cares. Like, it's not the same. But I do think that the soccer rivalry, from what I can tell, it's not as intense as it used to be. I think it is a little generational. I think like our parents' generation and the generation above that, they definitely like that was a bigger part of their childhood.
I think so too.
Unironically, I think it's because of one guy and one guy alone, and that's Lionel Messi.
Yeah.
He is
Yes.
universally adored.
How are you gonna trash talk him, bro?
Love Messi. You cannot. It's so difficult to hate Messi. I think he has done more for cultural relations between those two nations
than any ambassador.
Not really.
You know what? Messi's gonna start up a rivalry between Argentina and Canada right now because he didn't show up to the Canadian game and he's not to the Vancouver game.
No.
Yep.
Yeah.
People bought tickets. I have a lot of friends who bought tickets.
So if we can get Crew in and we'll get Messi involved,
Exactly.
Yes.
then
There we go.
we'll get some spice, get Messi into the Sao Paulo studio.
Yeah, honestly, no. Like, here's the
Damn.
if Messi actually like did something real with Crew, I think you would see a non-zero amount of Brazilians be like, screw it, I'm a Crew fan.
I'm a
like
Crew
if you
fan
were
now.
a Liberty fan and Liberty didn't make it,
Sorry.
right into the top
Yes.
six, you're just like, I love Messi, that's my goat. Guess what? I'm Argentina. I don't care.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So maybe it depends on the team. Maybe it depends on the quantity of Messi appearances, potentially, as to how that would affect that rivalry.
Yes.
So, but yeah, I
Amount
think
of autographs.
yeah, imagine though, it's unlikely we'd see the 5 Argentinian stack, and they'll probably wind up as another team in the North-South Conference, which is fine because we want them to integrate and all have fun together.
Are there even any teams with a 5-stack Argentina? Like, I think all of them are mixed.
No idea.
At this point.
I think.
Well, there's only going to be one team out of the 6 they have, so we can get one from each, and then we'll make an Argentina team.
Yeah,
It'll be great.
Sure.
We'll make the dream team from Argentina to go 6th. Okay, so we'll see how that rivalry goes. Another one from, I think this is Dark Knight, but Discord has cut the name off.
Yeah, it's Dark Knight.
So, no mention of the academy system in the articles. In my opinion, this will kill or slow down massive deployment of new talent from here, but what do you guys think? Yes, a new tier 2 will be a theme, since nothing was brought up so far about how it will work. I'm expecting the worst. Sag. So we're, as we've said, quite positive on academy. And I don't think it's gonna, at the very least, there's no shot it gets worse. I don't think there's any reason it gets worse, because they're not going to change how it works. And I think it already is better. Like, I think it's already good, and I don't think this is going to make academy worse. I just don't see how that would negatively affect what's already happening.
You could also argue, like, okay, well, if teams are no longer like, have to have an academy team, good, that's more money for them, right? And like sustainability, less money into academy means more money for the primary operation, right? And with bigger and better players being down there, right? Let's say you just took like, I don't know, like just took the bottom 4 of the standings right now and just lumped them into academy. They would have a lot of fans, right? They would have a lot of fans going in, and the route to tier 1, right? Like the fact that like CBLOL Academy had OQs this year, right? And you had, Trappa, Rise, and IDL come through, right? That generated a lot of organic fandom, right?
Yeah.
There were fans of W7M, right? Because they're a huge like CS team, right? I think, right? And like, and their fans came through. They were like, oh, we've got a shot to be a part of like the big ecosystem. It didn't work out for them, but like, I think again, maybe this is me being optimistic. I for my own mental health, I try to be more optimistic than pessimistic. But that's what I think. RC, I feel like you had some points to the contrary.
No, I actually fully agree with you. I think like when W7M, for example, got picked up by a whole bunch of the other teams, like the individual players, the fans kind of moved with them too. Like I believe, and I said this earlier too, like Brazil was built by the fans. Like if the fans are willing to invest in tier 2 into these teams, there is no reason tier 2 can't be as big as CBLOL is right now. And to me, the way I look at it,
there were points that I heard from Brazilians that like in 2018-19, the Circuitão, the BRCC, was getting more viewership than CBLOL.
Yeah,
right?
I wouldn't even be surprised when
RC,
you look at the names.
You
there.
nailed it. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's
the
going
names,
to be
the players,
if
the
the fans want to invest in it, they're the most powerful fans in the world.
Yeah, 100%. So the way I kind of look at it is it's what we choose to make of it, right? Like I'm looking at the qualifiers. Like there were a lot of teams like G and stuff like that too. Like there are names that definitely could be here. Now, yes, I think there will be some damage, of course, to the tier 2 system, especially if the franchising teams choose to pull out of the tier 2, which happened in NA. Now, NA is a whole different ecosystem. They're a lot more negative about talent development at that time. So I'm hoping it doesn't happen in CBLOL. But if that does happen, sure, there'll be less money in tier 2. I fully agree with that. But the fact there is a slot in tier 1 that comes in from tier 2 and how you perform, it adds stakes to that tier 2. Now, all those teams you're talking about, like, hey, you don't have to wait for a team to pick you up anymore. If you are good enough, you force your way back up. You know, if they bench Zai, they send Zai down to academy. Well, Zai, you ain't happy? Win.
Yeah. Get some
Bring
pipe
your
games.
pike back up there and
Yeah.
shove it down their bot lanes. Like, vengeance plays. Like, there's so much that can come out from that tier 2. And if anything, I wish we had more like promotion relegation spots. That to me is one of the most exciting things. I understand we can't for franchise reasons, but I think tier 2 can be developed, can become big and hype. And hey, you don't want Riot messing with your ecosystem. Guess what? Riot's not going to touch your tier 2. Pretty much ever. So we can make tier 2 whatever we want here in Brazil. And as long as Riot Brazil's on board, and Riot Brazil has always been great, at least in our dealings with them, your dreams can be made here in tier 2.
Yeah, I agree. I have a couple of questions for you guys, just to wrap us up.
Okay.
My first, I'll get an answer from each of you. Minimal context, please. What's the grand finals matchup in this split in CBLOL, and who wins? Soph?
Oh man!
I'll go in reverse order for the next question, so you won't be first next time.
Uh,
Why did I put RMC last, just so he can say Pain loud wins? Why did I give him so much time to do this? It's a toughie, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And who wins? Can I reserve to the right to just say what the grand finals is?
You can give me the match first. You can decide your winner,
Okay.
and we'll come back to it.
Okay. It's Loud VKS.
Loud VKS. Okay, 4-4. Grand finals. Tell me about it.
I think it's gonna be. Wow.
Was that a Loud or a Liberty?
It's loud. It's loud will be there. It was not Liberty.
Shocker.
Loud Pain.
Loud Pain Loud. RMC's camera has died, but he might still be alive. Oh, okay. He was.
Welcome back.
Crafting memes. Okay, so I feel like. Are you actually gonna vote
from your world? I thought you did that on your whiteboard. You like drew that out.
That would have been so intricate to be done that time.
That's
No, it's from World
insane.
2023, man.
Are you actually gonna vote for Pain to win?
I feel like contractually obligated to at this point. Like,
as a predictor, did you predict Pain to win last grand finals?
I did.
Oh wow!
Yeah, like I think all my written predictions, I've always said.
Always gone for Pain.
Like,
okay, so Pain versus who?
So it's got to be Pain. It'll be Loud. Who else is there?
Pain Loud.
It's always freaking Loud at the end of the day. No, Croc told. I think he told one of the Pain fans, or told Pain as a team, that as long as he's here, forget about winning a trophy. I'll give Croc credit. I think he'll always be there at the end. I think he is the final boss, and I am just wanting Pain to beat him one time, just once before he gets out. For a reminder, guys. Croc has screwed Pain many times, not even on Loud. He screwed them on Renska, guys.
Yeah.
Like, I just want revenge once.
A certified painkiller, for sure. Okay, so Chan, who wins? Loud VKS, who wins?
Loud.
Oh, boo. Okay, I mean, it's fair enough. Like,
It's Loud, man.
Okay.
We are so loud-pilled in this region right now.
So we have
don't
two
know
Loud
any other
votes
team.
and a Pain vote, 2 Loud Pains and a Loud VKS. Now, my next question, final question, is what is the regional finals matchup of the first North versus South Conference finals? And who wins? RMC. Now you get to go first with the hard one.
Wait, let me think about LCS. I did not have
Because the
LCS
regional
in my head.
finals, I believe.
Let me pull it up.
Is there one after the first split, or is it after second or third split?
It's after the regionals.
'cause
Is
first
after
split.
the third split.
Because the regional
Okay,
finals, because the
so
first one I think
there
has
is a
one
cross
each.
in every single one. The
Right.
first one, there's only one seed for the international event between North and South. So there will be one for sure.
Okay. Sure. So let's say, well, I don't want to say who wins the first one because you guys have already picked winners for that. So you've already picked the CBLOL
Wait,
one.
no,
so...
hold on. Can I just say for the first one? This is not even like a real analysis. I just want to see Shopify Rebellion face off against Spain.
For B-Boy Free Pain, that would be fun.
Yes!
Oh, that would be sick!
Yes.
Oh my god!
Dude.
That would be really sick.
Dude, I'm
That's
it's
amazing.
nothing ever fails to warm my heart more than all the LCS people being like, man, isn't B-Voice so good? And we're like, yes, he is. Yes, he is,
Yes,
you
he
fools.
I still remember Kelsey Moser and I were discussing this like at the beginning of the year, and she was like, "B-Boy's what? Like B-Boy's not that good." I was like, "No, he
like,
did well for
you are wrong.
I swear he's good."
False.
I was so vindicated when he won All Star. I was like,
Yeah.
"Yes,
Yes, man.
Oh,
From like
man.
7th place or something. Like, that's crazy. Okay, so let's make it the pre-Worlds regional finals. You can't just pick the first one. End of the year. 3 splits deep. North versus South. for the spare slot at MSI or at Worlds or whatever the system is. Doesn't really matter. North v South Conference, pre-Worlds. RMC, what is the matchup? Who is the winner? He's got to extrapolate out the timelines now. You gotta
okay,
do
like
two off
genuinely,
seasons.
This is hard. This is
I
really
think
hard.
it would be okay because keep in mind, like Worlds at this point would be 2025.
Yes.
So Croc's gone.
Yeah.
So
Crocs.
It's not allowed anymore. Pain C9 and C9 wins.
You took mine.
Oh,
Oh no! I was literally gonna say that as well.
Well, now you
No
can't.
way! I
'cause
was
RMC
gonna say
already
that
did.
as well. No way.
Back up.
What do you mean I
Resisting, I
can't?
You can't. It's banned. Backup option 404. You've got time, Sofchan. Get cooking.
TL Pain and
We're all pain heads now. They're 2-2, guys.
Yeah.
Did we forget they're 2-2?
this is next year. God, dude.
Yeah.
I hate to say this. This is another thing we didn't really talk
They'll
about.
have fudge in top lane. Yeah.
Tinones might be an LCS player.
Oh, truth.
True. Actually, genuinely true. Actually,
Yo.
who'd he replace though?
Somebody. It's like look, like LCS is still gonna have more money, right? The teams are probably still gonna have more money to offer, right?
Mhm.
If you got a slot open
Who's
for
going to
them,
want to
like-
buy the Brazilian fan base with the Tinones mid lane placement?
Exactly.
True.
It
Hey,
might be
Shopify,
Shopify.
I'm
actually.
just
It might be
saying.
Shopify, actually.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I think it's
already bought
Shopify.
Brazil.
Tinones and B-Boy both beat Pain, and Tinones can continue to beat Pain even
exactly.
after leaving the region.
Yeah. Tinones Tinones on Shopify. No, I think
So-
yeah, I want what I want is TL versus Pain, and
Pain.
you get the Yapper Derby in APA versus Titan.
Oh, dude, they'd fist fight after the game.
The
It would be
two
great.
I'm down for that.
biggest just like
Yeah,
trash talkers. I was
The
gonna say other words,
absolute-
but
typers. Okay,
Yeah.
TL Pain. Who wins?
TL.
TL. Okay, Sofchan. North South. Who's playing? Who's winning?
So, I'm keeping an eye on the 5-year plan CL VKS.
Yeah.
It's year two. Year two. Okay.
Yeah. He's already third after one split. So.
Yeah, very good.
True.
Yeah.
VKS versus C9
Okay.
and
Are you gonna back the Brazilians? Your comrades couldn't do so.
VKS takes it.
Yes.
You guys take
Yes. Good stuff. Okay, our local NAs both have backed the northern region. Well, 404 is half and half, but so just more of a traitor if anything. But so
I'm sorry. I was weighing my.
I will literally never beat any allegations.
get the Judas spam out, guys. Get the Judas spam out. We know you want to do
Okay,
it.
in my defense, it was BR versus like an NA team, plus the fact that they've actually got Canadians on their team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true, actually. Yeah, you got to back the actual.
Yeah,
home team.
our RMC is the other NA, guys.
You know
Yeah.
what, Paint? Send me a jersey. We'll renegotiate.
Yeah. You could change this. You have the power, Pain.
Yes. I've been hunting for that jersey for years now.
Okay, let's wrap it up there. The death of the CBLOL has been greatly exaggerated, everybody. Fear not. We will get through this together. We'll all hold hands, and we will beat NA in 2025 Split 3 with VKS.
VKS versus
So
Cloud9.
don't even trip. Don't worry about it. It's coming. Okay, thank you everyone for watching. As always, follow us on the Twitter, on the Twitch, on TikTok as well, and come and join us in the community Discord, where you can ask us questions and we'll answer them on the podcast, as well as you can just talk to us because we're nice and we like talking to you guys. So have a wonderful rest of your day, guys, and we will see you on Saturday and Sunday for more CBLOL Split 2.
Bye-bye.